Alright, so I'm going to do this video, which kind of talks about the homeless situation because, for one, the videos I did talking about is Seattle Dying did very well, and then also the one is Tacoma, far behind did very well. But that's not the reason why I'm necessarily doing this video. It's basically in response to the reactions that have happened in the area as a result of Como News doing the actual piece. Now, before I send you the link, below in the description box, there's going to be a link that talks about a couple who lives out of their RV in Puyallup across from school, and they've been the target of a lot of people just being angry that they're there and just being just ridiculous. First, I want to say this. It's stupid for anyone to basically go up to people that they don't know and tell them that they shouldn't be there and they should leave. That's just stupid. Even the police officer said it's not the public's right to tell people that they need to leave. It's just not. Now, you may not agree with people who are camped out on the side of the street. You may not agree with folks because there's an RV culture here where you see it a lot more in Seattle than you do in some of the other places, but you see it down here in Tacoma and some of the other places, Puyallup, different cities, where folks will live either out of their RV. In fact, there's a Fred Meyer over in the Greenwood section of Tacoma or Seattle. And back behind there in some of the side streets, you see nothing but RVs. One time I saw about 20 different RVs parked all along the streets there. And so that is how some people have to live. That's the only home that they have. Now, whether or not they should be on city streets like that, that's a different argument. If they're doing something that's criminal in terms of whatever, then that's a different discussion. But going up to people that you don't know because of documentaries that you've seen or because you're frustrated that they're parked out in front of your street or that there's homeless folks just everywhere, be respectful of people. I mean, that to me, that's just common sense, but it makes no sense. In this particular link that I'm going to send you, these two individuals, it's a man and a woman, and they talk about how they did have a house at one point just right up the road in Puyallup where they are. Hold on, I'm getting a phone call. I'll be right back. All right, sorry, I had to take that and then spoke to Noelle and told her a story, and I was just laughing hard. So, yeah, always crazy. But anyway, getting back to my whole point, but yeah, I mean, just because you see something that you don't like, especially when people are living on the streets, a rough condition, a rough situation, doesn't give you the right to go up and say stuff to them and do stuff to them and that type of thing. Let the police know if there's a problem. That's the first thing. So I'm going to include the link of what's going on, and a lot of people using these fear-mongering tactics and everything else and all that. I get it. People are frustrated and that the city should do more. I agree with that. There should be a whole lot more policies that are in place and programs. I agree. But going up to people saying stuff is just not right. I think we live in the day and age of social media where people just say whatever. And so then they end up going and saying the same thing to people face to face, and it's just not good. I mean, you can get into a whole lot of trouble doing that. The other part is the Tacoma Tribune, the Tacoma News Tribune. It's a local newspaper in Tacoma, and one of the, I think it's Matt Driscoll. I could be wrong. I'm not going to look it up right now, but he did a piece talking about, is Seattle dying? And he was talking about how that is not true. And he was saying that, basically, the city is doing a whole lot of things. And there's a lot of great efforts that are underway and blah, blah, blah. And if you look at the comments down below, I was very proud of the citizens of this area. Very proud. because this was a moment where people, it didn't matter what political party that they were from, they all said the same thing, that Seattle could do better than what it's doing. And that Seattle has pretty much kind of failed when it comes to addressing this issue. Because what he is missing is what the Seattle mayor is missing. They talk about how housing affordability is the problem. And I agree, housing affordability here is pretty expensive. But it's not the sole reason why people are homeless. It's easier for a city to say, look, we have a massive issue with home affordability. And so they can probably get more money from the state and possibly from the feds if they say that. When you say we have a major problem because of drugs, and the reason why we have a major problem with drugs is because the police are kind of working with their hands tied behind their own backs, doesn't sound as good. Because you're not going to be able to get any money that way, right? So there needs to be accountability, and this is where I disagree with I think it's Matt Drexel, and I apologize if it's not him, but this is where I disagree, and I agree with most of the citizens here who have said the exact same things that I'm saying, that the city of Seattle, as well as others, they're not the only one, they're the biggest, could do a whole lot more than what they're doing. A whole lot more. And the fact that they're only saying that it deals with housing affordability is a major injustice, because it's not going to address the issue. It's not going to solve the issue. We're talking about two totally different things. When you look at the situation of the link I'm sending you that talks about how people are upset about the homelessness and these folks actually have an RV, you have several different shades of homelessness, right? And what's ironic is the guy, I'm jumping all over the place, but the guy in this piece, the two couples, he said, it's crazy how people think so much more about us and we barely think about them. And that they are just constantly facing people who are judging them all the time. And I said to myself, welcome to being a minority in America. That's kind of how it is that you have a whole lot of eyes and a whole lot of people focus on you and a whole lot of perceptions that may not be true. Say that these people are, the one guy was saying that these people are perverted and that they're parked in front of a school and that they're this and that. And really and truly, these individuals aren't doing anything other than parking close to where their house was, and it happened to be near a school. And it's a husband and wife couple. I think they're husband and wife. They could be boyfriend and girlfriend. I don't know. She has a ring on her finger. I don't know. But they're a couple. The only crime that they have committed thus far that has been out there, if it is a crime, is that they've parked on the street in an RV. That's it. And that the vast majority of people there in that area don't want them on the street. And I'm not saying they don't have a valid point. But to go about it the way they did is wrong. Now, balancing back to, what is this? Hold on a second. I'm having bills that are being paid, and I'm like, what bill is that? Popped up on my screen. So I got to see what it is. It's popped up twice. But anyhow, to excuse me, talk about the newspaper guy. I think it's completely disingenuous of the mayor of Seattle to say that, well, what is this? I don't know what that is. Sorry. The mayor's only putting a Band-Aid on a major issue. And instead of doing the hard work of actually solving this, and the newspaper guy was saying that, we shouldn't treat these individuals like criminals and just ship them off to a facility and blah, 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 blah. And I agree. I don't think that we should treat anyone like a criminal unless they are a criminal. And I think that by putting them in a facility that worked extremely well in Rhode Island, now I'm sure you have to tweak it a little bit and make it our own, but I don't understand the problem with giving people a chance, a true chance, by saying, look, drugs are the biggest part of the issue. Now, this is not the only series that was done that talks about the drug issue in Seattle. Really, it should be about this entire region, but it's focusing on Seattle. This is not the first one. And there was another one prior to this series that kind of piggybacked off of it. I mean, they were showing clips of the Seattle PD running on the streets of Seattle, chasing after someone. That video, that snippet was done about 2 years ago. But prior to, so that other video talks about a woman who grew up in a very wealthy neighborhood or wealthy city, suburb, and how she just kind of got into the whole drug culture. And now she's living on the streets. You know, so it's not so much about, again, this is something that does nothing, that has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with incomes, has nothing to do with race. It has to deal with the fact that you have a major drug issue that's going on. And some of this is due to, someone brought this up, some of it's due to doctors just willy-nilly giving people, and they talk about that too. And the other, and I'm going to find that video, I'm going to talk about it too and put it on here. But they talk about how a lot of these doctors were just giving drugs to people. That's happened all over the country. And so you end up with people who no longer can get those prescription drugs, so they self-medicate, and it leads to bigger issues. That's a big part of it. But we've always had a big problem with drugs. Always. And there's always been a homeless situation here. It's grown drastically because the city is growing. But given that, finding affordable housing for people who are strung out on drugs is not going to do anything, because they don't care about their living conditions. They care about getting the next drug. They've shown, and I don't think it was this particular docuseries, but I saw another one where there was a house that was not fit to live in. The house was condemned after they got the people out of there, where they were just doing drugs. It was so bad. I mean, bad, that I can't even describe it here on YouTube because it'll be flagged. That, I mean, the inside conditions were not fit for, you couldn't even clean it. Because, I mean, these are people who are sick at that point. So you can't expect people who are in that condition to just find them affordable housing and it's going to fix it. That it doesn't work. You just compound an issue. And then you have those individuals who are going to start stealing from people in their neighborhood to support their habit. So then the cops are called because someone has stolen a bike or stolen to this or stolen to that. And instead of solving the crimes that are people out here doing a bunch of heinous stuff, they can't because they're busy trying to keep track of all of these random things that are stolen. And then they go into the court system and they're like, well, you know, yeah, you stole it, but we're not going to charge you. Just don't do it again. And so it's a revolving door of people who really need help. The police are arresting them and it just doesn't go anywhere. So people are frustrated. So I disagree with Matt Drexel, which rarely do I disagree with some of the things that he says. But on this particular occasion, I do. It's incorrect. I think that the Como News docuseries was spot on. Now, they're saying that, you know, it was a little bit one-sided and that it was basically pointing to all the negatives, not the positives. It was this and that. Listen, Seattle has had the best advertising that money can buy. And it's all been free. I mean, if you see all the promos that have been done, all the just commercials when we have when the Seahawks are playing and they show Seattle skyline, Amazon in the news, all of this is free promotion for the city of Seattle. People know that Seattle has a lot of great amenities. Period. I think it still has one of the best skylines, in my opinion, in the entire country. And it has a lot of the infrastructure is improving. I can talk about that all day, and I think the light rail system is going to be one of the best. But that still doesn't take away from the fact that there are major issues, and this is one of them. You know, for people who are visiting the city, they see all of this pretty. They fly in, they see the volcanoes, they break through the clouds and feel all that turbulence. And then when they do, they get to see downtown and all that water. It takes your breath away. All the green, you see all this green around you. Snow-capped volcanic mountains, all the green around you, all that water. It's beautiful. And then boom, you see downtown. You just see it. The plane goes in a little bit deeper because of the way that the airport is. I mean, how much more positive vibes can you get and publicity for the city that you can get just from flying in? And a lot of the people who fly into the city aren't even visiting the city. They're going to Asia or to wherever. And this is a pit stop. So you get so much positives. And people like myself and others who talk about things that are great about Seattle, there are things that are also bad. You can't just have it one way. There are bad things about Tacoma as well. But this is a situation where the city could do more. It spends $1 billion. I mean, a bunch of money. $1 billion. Most cities don't even have that type of money. It spends $1 billion on this whole system, and it's not working. So why not give it a chance with something that has worked in Rhode Island? Why not highlight the fact that we have a weakness here? And why not hold politicians accountable for that by saying, look, here's a solution. It's not just about housing. Yeah, there are people who are struggling. They're making minimum wage. Yeah, that's a different story. There are people who are living out of their RVs. They may have a job, but they can't afford it. That's a different story. But the people who are living just in abject poverty or living under a bridge, and they're strung out on drugs, they're committing a lot of crimes, they're roaming around downtown, pickpocketing people, bumping into people, taking their stuff, robbing people. That's the stuff that you need to really deal with. And it's not just dealing with the drug situation, it's also dealing with handling the people who are arrested. When they are arrested, they need to be going through the entire system and then getting treatment. I'm not saying lock them up. I'm not big into the whole lock them up and forget them type mentality either. I don't think that that works. It hasn't worked. But I do think that locking them up, making sure that they actually go through drug treatment, and maybe it takes once or twice or 3 times, and maybe they never get it. But not giving people that option when we have the infrastructure to do so just doesn't make sense to me. So I take my hat off to Como News and the fact that they had a reporter that really gave a good hard look. And it's not to say that Como News doesn't like or love Seattle. They obviously do. It's not to say that the reporter who did a fantastic job, this investigative reporter, it's not to say that he doesn't like Seattle. I'm sure he does. The people who did the interviews and all the other folks, the lady that moved her shop to Bellevue, it's not that they hate Seattle. It's that they don't like the fact that nothing is changing in terms of addressing this issue. That's what the problem is. So anyhow, like I said, I'm going to include the link that shows the video that's going on in Puyallup and how some folks are trying to attack folks that they don't need to be doing. Please don't do that. There's better ways to handle it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.